Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Beyond Replication. It's been a while because life is happening, so we don't have time to always pop on the computer in front of the laptop to record stuff, but here we are integrating and digesting the after effects of Sagittarius Full Moon, which was the blue moon because we had 2 full moons in the month of May, and also we are in preparation for the new moon in Gemini, which will be taking place next week on the 14th, I believe. So with all that said, I hope everybody is doing well, and let's see what we can come up with in this one.
Let's see. Mercury went into Cancer recently. Jupiter is coming out of the shadow path now. Cancer being the transformative quincunx energy, the realizations, the results of the Sagittarian realization, perhaps. The Sagittarian full moon we just had probably illuminated a lot of information, a lot of false or growing beliefs, I should say. Truth, false, right, wrong, that's a very static conception. That's a linear projected perspective of reality. Everything is cyclical, probably beyond cyclical. That's just the closest thing I can relate with logically. But so what are you integrating right now? What information, stories, belief systems seem outdated or constrictive? If you look at reality now, there's a lot of changing happening, a lot of narratives rising to be realized as being false messiahs, the death of absolution. People are doubling down on their illusions in order to hold up false illusions or past previous cycle illusions. So we've got this energy of realization that the shit stirring of the world is actually blinding us from the truth. And to get there, it's the felt presence of your experience. Is it benefiting you? Is it good for you? Is it something you enjoy? If not, you have the power to change it. So that's, to me, what a lot of this energy represents.
Oh, you are the only one who can change it, really. And this is what I feel is the trine with Saturn, from Saturn and Neptune that was to this full moon. And during the new moon in Sagittarius in December 2025, we had the squares from both still in the sign of Pisces. So this is what I feel many of us are facing, that if I want to change my story, if I want to change my life, then I have to take the responsibility for doing so. And, just looking at the world, looking at your environment, your neighborhood, looking at people around you, we can see how all of these limitations that we adopted and bought into are becoming more and more restrictive and uncomfortable. Like, we feel like, and I feel this is, like you said, Jupiter is soon coming out of his pre-retrograde shadow, and also Jupiter will be moving into the sign of Leo at the end of this month. So we are preparing for this new energy of Jupiter to in the sign of creation, in a sign of birth, right? Like creating a new energy. So everything that we've been working on since Jupiter moved into the sign of Aries, Jupiter, of course, ruled the Sagittarius full moon we digested. So since Jupiter transited through the sign of Aries until now, so this was the first quarter square, Cancer to Aries, first quarter square, the crisis in action. And now we are going to create whatever Jupiter in Aries seeded for you, these 4 or 5 years ago. Now we're going to create based on what energy was being conceived, and then the foundation that was being set, and then all the information that were being processed and choices that were being made. And now with Jupiter ending his stint in the sign of Cancer, which is all about, well, how does it make you feel? How do you want to feel? And this is why I feel many of us, especially with this energy of the full moon, which full moon, of course, is the illumination, is the midpoint, we are experiencing a lot of contrast, because of course full moon has the opposition, so a lot of contrast of what it isn't. And this is happening in your personal life, in your immediate environment, and also on the collective level. We are experiencing that, which is the contrast to how much you've grown in these past 4 or 5 years, since Jupiter started the new cycle from Aries. So now we're going to be moving into these new energies also shortly. In less than 2 weeks, we'll be having Chiron moving into the sign of Taurus, which is a whole new thing, a whole new theme of conversation over there. So I feel that right now we are approaching that choice point with Gemini new moon, first time with Uranus in the sign of Gemini, in our lifetime probably, unless you are quite older in age. And this is what we are all processing, I feel.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, if you think of, there are so many ways to conceive or to perceive, understand reality. And I feel we get caught up in very limited perspectives, or our logic is limited to reasons from the past, and the reasons are a communal agreement. These are things that we settle on because we're living through the felt presence of experience. And we can all relate to the lowest and the highest expressions of our own life. And usually these are tethered to emotions. The lowest lows or the highest highs have many expressions. So when we're thinking of time or thinking of reality, we are inundated with information, with circumstances. So we focus more on the knowledge rather than the gnosis. We focus on what to think rather than how to think. And the how to think is a natural process. When you're a child, you have to unlearn what you already know so that you can learn how to replicate a program or pattern recognition. And these are limited to the relational dynamics that we perfected, that we are using as a currency for consciousness and relationship to our cultures, to each other, to the society, and we're feeding this unconscious tension into forms external. And so at this time, we see the ghosts of the past. We see echoes of the past, situations of the past. We had the sun in early Gemini squaring the nodal axis just less than a week before the Sagittarius full moon. And that was off the heels of a new moon in Taurus. If you think of right here, right now, this is true, but maybe tomorrow or in a year, it's not going to be true. So think of all life as progressional energies. What we're talking about here now will feed into when Chiron goes into Taurus. It's the updated sense of value of who we are. And we're either going to find that within ourselves, or we're going to project the icon into an external system, form, cycle from the past, an old song that we just love to put on repeat. And all of it's fine, we're all tuned to the way we're tuned, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just in these times, I feel we do a service not only to our soul's intention in life, to our own optimal expression of existence, and by doing that, we do that for other people. We show them that, hey, you don't have to play these old parts, these old roles. You can find the ignorance of the fool and bask in the glory of understanding what is the cultivation of human heritage. What is the value of wisdom, of gnosis, of the theosis of life? What can you bring to life? So I feel right now we are feeling the divide. We have expectations and limitations, and our authority complexes are either externalized into those or internalized into breaking free of those, or our own value assessments of ourselves. Are we worth it? Do we have what it takes? Are we even interested in what it is we're pursuing? What gives us life? What gives us the fire for meaning?
Yeah, and it's this constant choice. Like, we are still in a Gemini season after all, and the Sun is now transiting through the second decan of Gemini, so that's Libra decan. So again, we are experiencing a lot of polarity, and at every crossroad, at every bridge, Libra is the bridge. We have the choice, just like today, with my personal experience, I can choose to be disappointed about something that I wanted to do, and I then couldn't, or I can just focus on something else, you know, like recording this video, for example. So that's what I mean. In every moment we have the choice, but it is not always easy to see it. It is not always easy to focus on it, because we are like so stuck in certain trajectory. So it takes all these like chaos agents and unexpected situations and disappointing things and shocking events and stuff like that, you know, to take us out of our reverie, out of our sleep state. So then we can perceive the situation differently and realize that yes, I have a choice. I always have a choice, just like, you know, mentioned many times before, that that's really the free will that we seek in. The freedom we seek in is the free will of the choice that we can always choose in any situation. And now being in the Gemini season, we feel it very strongly, you know, either the sense of absence of a choice or the necessity to make a choice and take the responsibility and feel that I do have the agency, I do have the authority to decide for myself, just like Aaron was saying. And that's something that we discussed, and I don't remember exactly how you said it, but it sounded really well when you said that, you know, that I forgot how you said it in a coffee shop, that, you know, with the culture, and that becomes the limit of something else, and something like, you know, you just folded it into one from
Yeah, that's the authority thing. So it's like, all right, so if you have a lot of Aquarian energy within you, or you're in that spirit, you don't have to have it in your chart. I just have my IC there. There's nothing else except for the people that are close to me. And so it's like, in life, you have this internal authority of a sense of self. As you life, or you God into existence, that authority becomes the relationships, the expectations of relation, the things you do external. And you start to God yourself into existence, and then you start to become bound to the time or the space or the forms that you're creating external, and other people have expectations. And there's a discipline you have to hold, and there's a obligation to that relation. And then the people and the things and the circumstances, they form your sense of self, and that authority becomes something that binds you. And so you rebel against the authority, and a lot of people have this in relationship to success or other people. So they want to keep away from, you know, climbing the ladder or relationships in general, because it binds them into a sense of self, inner rebellion from an authority that they projected into existence that was based off more static experiences or ways of being, because you have to be in reality to be in relation. So I feel like when people project that energy into the culture, the family unit, the role in relation to society or the culture, that in these times of great change, it's a crisis point where you individuate, or you put that individuation on the back burner because it's not worth it, you're not worth it, things aren't worth it. And so it takes a major shakeup, because reality isn't against anything, it's happening, it's change, you know. It becomes against you when you refuse to change, when you refuse to grow. You know, I choose to, well, I don't choose, I mean, I've gained a sight of seeing all reality as change, you know. It's against me when I'm not ready for it, but it doesn't mean that it's not right or it ain't gonna happen. So, you know, if you're continually growing, or you have a drive or a hunger or a thirst to understand, then you're always going to grow. You know, it doesn't matter what's happening. When you refuse, then you're going to grow the hard way, you know. So it's like there's an easy way, there's a hard way, and then there's Wu Wei. So striving for Wu Wei, the art of life, that's my kick, and I don't know what it is or how to get it. It's just happening.
Well, it's kind of like what you describe is pretty much that grand mutable cross we had in the sky for this full moon, because the sun and moon in opposition were still square in the nodes, as you mentioned. The perfect square between sun and the nodes happened prior to that, but it was still in effect. And that's literally what it is, you know, because like with the choice, yeah, I can choose, you know, in opposition to Sagittarius, for a philosophy, culture, religion, you know, whatever it is, someone that is above me, you know, to be the religion that I follow, that whatever, you know,
that truth.
Yeah, the truth, exactly.
Capital
That
T.
it is, yeah, the truth. And then, you know, that will activate the other square, you know, to this Virgo and the Pisces. Like, does it still, you know, allow you to live life, you know, Virgo, that, you know, feels meaningful, that feels in a service, but not just to others, but to self as well, you know, because Virgo trines Taurus. And, you know, there is that, I mean, from Virgo goes to, so there is this what do you call it, semi-sextile to Libra, but there is an in conjunction quincunx between Taurus and Libra. Like, the external world is your mirror. The external world will not necessarily understand what you need or how you feel, you know. So this is like where we are slowly bridging into this Chiron in Taurus thing, because your internal world, it's only known by you. You are the only one that experiences 100% of it. Nobody out there knows you the way you know yourself, and people perceive you the way you want to be perceived, because you know, we all wear masks, right? So that's what I feel like with these choice points that we are experiencing at the moment, that we are facing at the moment. We can choose, you know, like this in conjunction to Capricorn, right? That there is an external authority. Yeah, I can't see it, but it's something that I know, something that I, you know, I can see as this Sagittarius, as the story lived for a long time. My ancestors believed this, they lived their life this way, this is the path they walked, and you can choose it as well, if it still holds a meaning for you, if it still makes you feel that, yeah, this is a life that is worth living, that this is a walk that I'm choosing for myself. Or then you experience the opposite thing, you know, like with the in conjunction to Capricorn, and also the sextile to Leo, that is this, do I want to create something different? Yeah. And for that I need to take the responsibility. For that I have to accept that I am the authority in my life, and I'm the only one that can change it. Like what we started with, you are the only one that can change it. I'm the only one that can change the things in my life. I cannot expect for some savior, Jesus or someone else to come and do it for me, because it's all energy, it's all archetypes, right? So yes, so now leading slowly but surely, you know, today being moon in the sign of Aquarius, so it's sextile in the point of this full moon, and with regards to the cycle, you know, Aquarius, you know, there's the liberation, you know, with regards to from Sagittarius, you know, closing the cycle, this would be like the harvest point, you know, this is the trine. So anyway, saying all that, like we now are in a point where you are deciding, you know, this first sextile, like, okay, where do you want this to go? Because soon enough, next week, you know, or beginning of the week after, we'll be experiencing this new moon in Gemini. First one for many of us in our lifetime, with Uranus as the rule of Pluto in the sign of Gemini, even though they will not be conjunct, it's really too far, but still they are in the same sign, they are in the same, you know, house in a sense, if you use the whole sign system. And that is the choice point, because then once Chiron moves into the sign of Taurus, which is literally 5 days later, this Chiron, this key, will determine the timelines and the expansion of your consciousness that you will be experiencing going forward, you know, because Pluto, of course, is going to be staying in Aquarius for a while longer, until 43, 45. So that's what I mean. So now we are in a very pivotal time where you really have to pay attention, but not so much pay attention to the stuff that's going out there, because everybody is there looking for your attention. Like, hey, pay attention to me, pay attention to this news, pay attention to that thing, whatever. So you can either choose, like, yeah, I pay attention to this Libra, to these things that are outside of me, to this Sagittarius, you know, the story, the truth of someone else, or I can pay attention to what it is that I'm desiring to create as my story, as my creation, and as my experience. So it literally is with this Gemini season, and of course once Sun moves into the third decan, the Aquarius decan of, and that's technically where this new moon will be happening, the final decan, Aquarius decan of Gemini. This is your launching pad. This is a Gemini season. It's a decision time. It's a choice. This is your launching pad in where you are going to go, where you are going to go from here. So that's why it is very important to decide for yourself, to put intention to where am I putting my focus based on what am I desiring to experience. Because there are so many distractions, there's so much noise, you know, with Gemini, so much information out there being bombarded left, right, center, and of course with Uranus being there, you know, like everything is just very hectic and erratic, and you don't even know what's truth anymore. But I guarantee you, by the time Uranus is done with Gemini, there will be not such a thing as truth, you know, anymore. So it really is important for you to, in a sense, program yourself into what do you want it to be your truth, what do you want it to be your story, because these are all truths with the lowercase t, you know, it's a very subjective thing. And it's continuously changing and mutable, just like Aaron said, you know, the only constant in life is change, and that is that mutable axis, you know, that is the mutable cross that we are experiencing, because life requires it. Nothing in nature is stagnant. Nothing in life is to be still. It continuously keeps going and flowing. And if it doesn't, like the stagnant waters, right, then eventually something's going to come, you know, like a disease or something, and then something else will have to come to purify it. So all of this is happening, literally in micro and micro. You know, there are things coming into our life to, you know, show where there is a disease and to make a waves in the stagnant water, so things starts moving. So this is also why a lot of things, especially post Sagittarius full moon, are coming up to our consciousness, becoming very aware. There is nowhere to hide anymore, becoming very aware. And with Jupiter, everything being amplified, of course, this was a mutual reception between the Moon and Jupiter, Jupiter being Cancer, Moon being in Sagittarius. So everything is so amplified right now, and there is no hiding anymore. It's literally like, no, you have to pay attention, you have to decide. And then whatever you choose, take the responsibility, because you can't say you didn't get a choice.
Yeah, to go beyond all the woo-woo, it's not what you know, it's how you know. All thinking is stirred by emotion, and the unconscious of Gemini is Taurus. It's the sense, it's the feeling deep within. That's polarity. It's in that axis with Scorpio, the deepest of the emotional depths. And you live the experience, that you embody it, you exercise the energies, the demons and the angels through your life. And everything is happening like this and more. You know, this is just the limit of my conception. You know, I remember reading a line my brother wrote on the wall of his bedroom when I was a kid, and it said, "Life due to circumstance." I didn't know what the hell it meant, but I'm going to tell you, life ain't due to circumstance. It's due to the limit of our conception. The limit of our conception is how deeply will we feel. You shut off the feeling when you go through things. You don't want to feel more. You don't want to know more. You don't have the right to agency to be your own individual authority. And so we learn like what all this is through our dynamics, our relationships. And we feed into these loops so that we and others can learn. And there's so much more happening beyond that. But for this talk, you know, in relationship to what we're speaking about, it is about recreating your own authority, your own sense of value. And it's the unconscious being made conscious. So what can you conceive? You know, all the information is going to tell you this thing, and then tomorrow it's going to tell you something else. And this happens over and over, and we get tired of the shell games, and we just settle on lowest common denominators. Because we can't handle the truth. We can't handle the fact that the only static is the ever-flowing dynamic. And if you want to limit the ineffable to conception's sake, it is your ability to perceive, to conceive of reality, of your sense, of yourself. And so we settle on communal logos, you know, and then we create hierarchical metric value structures based off this. And I mean, it's okay, you know, we're godding into existence. We're creating Legos, technology, AI, all this other stuff. We're creating things that are mimicking creation themselves. And we ourselves are mimicking creation. Very few individuals or people on earth have the creative energy. You know, because we don't know what it is. We can't conceive of what we haven't seen unless we get into the imagination, get into the inner child, or that natural creative impulse which is born somewhere in existence, and that seeds within us. And so feeding the fire of creation, feeding the mystery of the unknown over the known allows new known to become recognized. And with Gemini shaking up the information, It's not what's on the table, it's what's underneath, or it's what's to come. Think of all these little truths, as leading you to not necessarily a truth, but a way of being, a natural way of being. How can you stand in your authenticity? You have to accept you're a fool. And you don't use that as an excuse as to why you didn't do something or why you don't know certain things. You have to be open to the student energy, to learning, to growing, to expanding. The more you settle on the convictions of a static, the less agency you have. And it doesn't mean you ignore all facts or figures or the information. It doesn't mean you can swim in a pool of lava. You use common sense. And you measure reality based off of internal knowings, and you let reality help to inform you of the think that generates a relational dynamic between knowledge or information, communal logos, and how you can apply this creative energy into existence. And I don't profess to be a knower of this information. I'm learning it. I've read books. I've listened to people. I've read The Secret. Okay, I know the manifestation protocols, and I know you got to get into the emotion. So all this bullshit needs to be put down. You got to quit with that bullshit and get into life. You have to become a god, and the only way to do that is to God, and you got to be ignorant of it. Every time you put a label on it, every time you put some kind of a this is the way type of constraint on it, you're killing it. So you got to get into life like a child. They don't label things. We label them for them, and then they adopt it. Come up with a creative language that only your psyche can find. Then the metaphysical languages start to reveal themselves, and you start to draw conclusions. You connect the dots. And this is what I feel we're coming off of this Sag full moon into this Gemini new moon. I feel like we are enacting the unconscious Aquarian energies with that leading into Cancer here. And it's like the star card pouring this new awareness, this new consciousness into the river of life. You got to swim to the top of the river to catch the light, So if you're dwelling in the bottom, if you're in the things which restrict you, which hold you down to the convictions of a flow of the past, you got to swim out of it. You have to break the hypnosis. This whole world is fucking us over, and it's not the world of nature, it's the world of nurture through trauma loop convictions. And we had to hold ourselves from growing so we could create culture. Think of yogurt, it's like you pour bacteria into a bunch of nutrients and it becomes something. But when it sits too long, it rots, So it's time to jump ship, to get into the underground railroad of the self, to reculture yourself, to cultivate a new awareness. Your soul, your spirit, it's a gift to creation. And it's here for you to live, but you got to do it. That's the challenge, and it's a worthy one.
Yeah, and it is in no way easy, these times that we're going through, because we are embodying everything that happened on this planet before, and there is so much program, and there is so much pain and trauma living in our cells, in our somatic body. And every time that you try to change the pattern, every time that you try to change the habit and stuff, then the old will challenge you. It will, because it wants to be alive, it wants to live. It's been keeping our ancestors alive, us alive for all this time. So when we try to go into the unknown, into that pattern changing experience, then it is scary. It feels like death, and in a sense, it has to die. The old program, the old sense of identity, it has to die, because you cannot have such a polarizing, opposing experience in and as I'm saying it, I know that it's not true, because obviously this whole world is the world of duality and polarity, but you cannot be rich and have a luck mentality, you know, that's just not possible. Like the two are incompatible, it's not the frequency match. So this is what I mean. Yes, we are living in a world that is, you know, based on polarity and duality. So that means that everything is always in balance, you know, like, yeah, we see that there is certain small percentage of people that, you know, rule the world, and certain small percentage of people that have it all with regards to resources, and they are in charge of everything, and they're just playing like a chess over here, you know, because, you know, this is all just a game to them. And then you have everyone else, like, so, like such a small group of people have so much power, so then there's a huge group of people who have very little power, you know, but everything has to be in balance. So what's happening now is that is breaking, that structure is breaking, but with that, the psyche of that has to break too, because there is that sense of identity, you know, the Cancer in connection, you know, to this Scorpio and Pisces, you know, there is a sense of identity, also the squares, the grand cardinal cross, you know, where, yeah, if you want to birth something new, something has to die, you know, because like with this Cancer, right, the 12 house is Gemini, so the old story, the old program, in order for the new sense of self and new sense of identity was born, and the reality to be redefined, the Capricorn, the 7th house, you know, with the Cancer rising, you have to let the old die. You literally have to let the old die, you know, the Gemini, you know, the old program, the old way of thinking, the old way of identifying reality, the labeling, just like Aaron said. When we label something, then we limit it, you know, even with this, you know, like we just show up, you know, we don't even know what the hell we're going to talk about because there is nothing to say. You know, there's nothing to say. Everything's already been said, and whatever we say is not going to really help you unless you allow that to encourage you to think for yourself, to find your own truth. If you follow my truth or Aaron's truth or somebody else's truth, you're still limited to somebody else's truth, you know. So that's why it's like more and more difficult to even make videos, because like actually the best thing for humanity would be if all sorts of information would completely disappear. That would be the greatest gift for humanity, if all sources of information would just disappear, you know, because that would force this new way of connecting with the source of information that is relevant to you. You know, you don't need to know everything about everything. You just need to know what you need to know for you when you need to know it, and to be able to connect to that source of all that is, and to download and access that information that you need for yourself at exactly this moment in your life, and trust that when you need what you need, it will come, and have that full trust and faith in that process. So actually having all these shitloads of information thrown at you from every single direction, and all these people sharing their opinion and sharing the truth and stuff, in many cases is actually more of a detriment than help. In some cases it could be helpful, you know, even for me, you know, there are still a handful of people that I follow on YouTube and that I, you know, we compare the textbooks in a sense, like, oh yeah, I already knew that, but thank you for, you know, like, I don't know, validating, which of course by the law of attraction you would say, well, of course you attract people who think the same way because, you know, blah, 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 you are in resonance, right? So that's what I mean, you know, the reality is very, it's very, how do you say, very bendy, it's very plastic, you know, it's very, very flexible, like a plasma, yeah, so nothing is what you think it is, so nothing really matters, you know, like there is no one truth, there is no one direction, there is no one information, there is no one definition, there is billions and billions of them. So it doesn't really matter what somebody else is saying, doing, you know, none of that really matters unless it's helpful, unless it makes you more motivated or more inspired to find it for yourself, in yourself, not to copy that person's life or their way of thinking or their truth, but to learn how to do it for yourself, not to take the fish, learn how to fish. So that's why sharing information is becoming less and less helpful, because then people just hold it as the new holy grail or something to judge and criticize depending who is watching you, you know. So that's why, like, yeah, at the end of the day, you know, all that will, like, actually, the only thing that really guides you to where you need to go is actually the opposite, is the quiet, is the stillness, you know, is the non-activity through which you can really, you, I, all of us, can connect to that which really matters for you, you know. So that's why, like, now in this Gemini season and the overall, the contrast of everything that is an opposite, we have the choice to actually decide, do I want to continue this trajectory where I know where that is going to go, I know where that is going to lead me, because I've gone through that experience every Gemini season where I looked at, oh yeah, a lot of distraction, a lot of information, look, there's a lot of things happening, so I can just start adopting all these things as my truth, and bang, what happens? You keep experiencing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and then go like, how am I keep reliving the same life over and over and over again, every year after year? Deja vu. You know, you look at the stage and they say, yeah, you know, the world has been, this is the worst the world has ever been, you know, this is the worst situation, look, there is a war, there is this, there is that crisis, there is this bullshit happening. Trust me, you look back 5 years ago, you look back 10 years ago, you look back 15 years ago, you look back 20 years ago, there was always something. There is always something, we just forget, because there is overload of information we cannot possibly digest, so we forget, and we hear it over and over again, and we say, oh yeah, this is new, oh yeah, this hasn't happened before, look, this hasn't happened before like this. And all of this is to give you two options. You either allow that to create your reality continuously, or you decide, no, thank you. I don't need anybody else's bullshit in my head. I'm going to create my own reality. And then we go to what Aaron said. Yeah, you know, we have to connect to that full of the child starting alive and just going, da 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 da. I'm just going to imagine how I want to live my life without anybody else describing, telling me what is and isn't possible. And that is the only way to change this world. That is the only way, you know, to rise above the known, to go beyond that which the program is saying that is possible, which was already defined, which was already experienced. There is no other way. It has to go back into the invisible, unseen world, and that is the only way to change the scene. That's the only way. There is no other way. Because for as long as we keep looking for everything that's going on out there and keep consuming all this information, we just will keep copying and recreating the same thing.
Wow. I'm allergic to demiurgic convictions. So if you think of kings and queens, these are gods who settled on convenience. The offspring of convenience is Wentico. It's an inbred psyche that seeks to devour itself. It's a cancerous energy. It starts to devour itself. And it could be part of a process of new creation. It's not all evil. It's just what is. You know, I'm limited in my awareness, in my language. But you must rise above the stories of the past. Those who remember history are doomed to repeat it. It's not the other way around. You know, it's the other way around when you put your limit to pop culture consensus narration value. Then you're hip and you're an academic and you are well adjusted to a profoundly sick society, and good for you. You got money, you got a title, you got a car, whatever the fuck people are honoring in this existence, because they lost a sense of real meaning, of real value. Well, now we're coming to the point where real value is the Aquarian rule. It's an understanding that the felt presence of experience is the only thing that matters, and we all benefit from the same base core things: the freedom of choice, clean air, clean food, clean water. You know, and there is a psychosis in. You mentioned maybe there's a ruling class. You know, I worked on a farm for a short period of time, and then I understood a lot of societal programs are based off optimally managing farm animals or human beings or cultures. And it's just, there is an alien psyche which is inbred, born through this, whatever this is, this experiment of life. And it's here now, and it's being revealed through the broken systems and the insanity of a tragically comic reality. And so imagine there is an alien race of inbred farmers that are managing this world. That's not where the story ends. It's just a page in a never-ending story. You have to find out, how do you find your own truth? How do you get authentic? The unknown is always going to exist. The closest thing you can get to the purity of what that is to get to the purity of the self and create a ritual out of life. To honor not just the lowest, but the highest. To strive for what is beyond known. You know, this is how you get that full embodied. That's how you activate your sixth house. You don't put your spirit, your attention into the repetitive bullshit of the past, becoming the best at your field or at this communal logos expectation. We're finding perfections through repeating idiotic patterns. You find the purity of yourself and you let the relation, the polarity to the unknown meet you, and then you create transformation. You create the process of an alchemical life, the hermetics of the cosmos. You start to find release language, not bind language, stuff that lives, a spirit which keeps your mind alive. So you can see perspectives, but they don't hold you. They don't bind you to the rock of truth. You know, this is where Prometheus breaks the chains. And it's happening, and it's going to happen for the next few hundred years. So we got time. If you think of reincarnation or you think of karma in general, this is just a logic, you know. Maybe it's true, maybe it isn't. How do you use it to your benefit? How do you use anyone's perspective to your benefit without burning it alive, you know? Everyone has a point, but it's when they settle on that point as the limiting de facto truth, that's when you step on it or step over it, or you just, you know, do whatever you want with it. We're in the season of collecting information to burn truth. You know, the fire is burning so we can bring that torch to the purity of Leo. This is how you anchor in these Aquarian winds of change. You find what is the purity of the creation. And you can only get to it within yourself. It's not going to be something you can share with others until you bring it forward ignorantly as the fool in a pure spirit. And you don't have to question, am I doing the right thing? If you want to follow us or other people's advisement, go for it, you know, but don't let it limit you. Continue to take information in and release it, burn it. Find what speaks, what lives. You know, move with the life, not with the death. And these stories and all the shit happening with the control state, structures, technocracy, whatever, the algorithms, the AI, all that bullshit. Mother Earth will settle the score. You know, you don't need to worry about anything. Just wait till the flares start activating these lithium battery fucking shit in everything we own. Then we'll see what happens, you know. So try and strip yourself from complexity. Find the most simple ways of life you can, and allow the complexity within you to create innovation within you. This is true creation. This is where Gaia, Autonos, brings forth new Saturn. This is where new spirits, new mythologies, things we haven't conceived are grown. So be what is unknown, you know, let the knower know and the thinker follow. That's my advisement or my perspective.
Yeah, I really feel that there are so many people that are going through this process of complete like transformation, like their entire life is changing, and like I said, it's not necessarily an easy process because you're going from something that you know and recognize and understand and wanted or unwanted, it's comfortable, into something that there is no guarantee, there is no safety net, there is no nothing, you know, but the spirit, the soul, you know, like of every single one of us didn't come here to live forever. Like we all knew that this experience of this incarnation is temporary, you know, this body that we are currently borrowing from Mother Earth, this is a temporary experience. So that's why there was never any guarantee for anything. It was never like, oh yeah, I guarantee you're gonna do this and that. The one thing that was guaranteed was that, yeah, you're gonna enter, one point you're gonna exit, and to your disposal you have the totality of what is available on planet Earth to experience, you know, the full spectrum of human emotion and the option to create and experience anything. So this is again where we go back to that choice, Sagittarius, the Gemini, as in opposition with the Sagittarius, the story already known, the story already lived, you know, that lives within us, every single one of us. We remember the story of our ancestors, even though we might not have the information, but we remember it in our emotions, in our body, in our spirit. And then, we, as I mentioned, Gemini season, we are at that cross point to like, okay, well, we are deciding how is this going to continue for you. Because with the Uranus being in Gemini, Uranus is the modern rule of Aquarius, it is very individuated, it is very subjective, because Saturn as the traditional ruler is in Aries, it is very subjective, Mars currently, I believe, still in the sign of Taurus, right?
Yeah.
Very subjective. Taurus is all about you, is your foundation, is your roots that you are putting out there, to grow something new from your tree, just because your grandfather might have been the one that grown grapes doesn't mean to make wine, doesn't mean you can't have olive trees or something, or be a bee man, it doesn't matter. It's like whatever it is that you want to experience, whatever it is, because it really like all these words and all this information and all of this, and in a sense, the bottom line of everything, the bottom line of existence is very simple, but the life is complex because we have to fill all the nooks and crannies of one's life, with details and and all these the non-playable characters, NPCs and all that, so you have a full experience, like you're watching a movie, you don't know what every fucking extra, what every person's name is or where they came from, and you don't care, but you need all these people in a restaurant where the main character eats, because who wants to eat in an empty restaurant? You go like, oh, there can't be a very good place. Probably the food sucks or it's too expensive. Nobody can afford it, because that's what I mean. So the world, it has to be filled with a lot of stuff, and for some people, they want this experience, and some people that experience, and everybody has a choice. But the bottom line of everything is that you came here to live. You came here to live your life for yourself, and through living your life, to, yes, impact everything and everyone around you, the tangible and intangible. So why not make it a good one? So living a life of restriction, or because they said so, he said so, they believe so, is like this, and this is the only way it can be, and my religion said so, and my culture says so, and blah, blah, blah. But these are all just dead things. These are corporations, these are all stories, this is somebody else's life. Your life is the only things that are alive for you, because you're not living somebody else's life. That's just a theory for you, just like it's theory for the soul until it moves into the physical body and has the experience. So that's what I mean. So in a sense, it's all simple, but it's very difficult. It's very complex for us to understand. But the bottom line of everything is simple. It's say, well, just live a good life, just make a choice. But then the mind goes and like, but, I need the money, I need this, I need to pay my bills, and you don't understand, and I'm stuck in this position, and I'm stuck in this country, and the visa, and the this, and the this, and blah, blah, blah. There are so many buts, and there are so many reasons why we can't be happy. Where, wherever you go, whichever country you are, look at the poor people and look at their kids. These kids are always happy. They're like, obviously, unless they're deeply traumatized, but white kid, yellow kid, red kid, whatever kid, poor, rich, doesn't matter. You see two kids, they just want to play. They don't know, hey, where are you from? What's your religion? What's your nationality? They don't even care if they speak the same language. Like they just want to play. They're just like, okay, what can we do? How can we explore? So that's what I mean. We forgot how to do that. We forgot how to just live. We forgot how to be happy because there are all these buts and there are all these informations that we are continuously overloaded with.
Yeah, we don't need the one world government. We need to realize we're all one, but not in the spiritual we are all one sense.
Piscean way.
Yeah, more in the Aquarian way. It's like the diversity is unity, okay? What can we all benefit from? What do we settle on? We don't need taxes in order to be born or live. This is a construct of bullshit, and it's the mire of red tape. It is the limitation of a slave mentality where conviction is ruled by virtue. And, I did this for this. Yeah, the righteous convictions of a fool that became a tool, rather than maintain their foolish spirit, innocence. Yeah, so it's like, this is why Saturn is exalted in Libra. This is why the unconscious value of Taurus is learned through Libra. It's the relation to self you put into others. You limit them by your limitations. You allow them to rise by your limitations as well, or your exaltations. But our conception is the limit. So how do you break that? Well, feeling, get into good feeling. It doesn't matter what possibilities exist out there if you can't find a good life within yourself, if you can't find how to live a good life. So what are we doing in this world when it's all closing down on us? Do we agree? Are we going to get pulled into the little civil wars, the rebellions of this group or that group, or this conviction over that conviction? How do we find the middle ground, the bridge to the future from this now, from the past? You know, for me, it's creation. You have to get into creation. What can you create that's foundational right here, right now, that actually stands the test of time? That was here 1,000,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 10 years ago, 1 year ago. It will be here forever into the future. You know, it is lives. The isness is full of things happening. You know, you could call it form, you could call it spirit and form. It's just maybe Brahma breathes and then it goes away. It doesn't matter what any of these ideas mean. Now, maybe you create a new cosmos with your thought every day, and there's a copy of everything in it. Who knows? We just got to get to the simple life and then create complexity through creative means. You know, just cut bait with the old and create the new. Create, don't consume. You know, but if you got to consume, make it low carb.
Or like consume something that actually makes you feel better rather than worse. You know, if you have to choose, like, what am I consuming, then, you know, like our experience with pizza yesterday, if you're gonna eat carbs and something like pizza, then at least choose a good one. You know, choose a good restaurant. Yeah. Go to Italian, don't have it in another place, you know, which has a lot of other things.
Sweet, spicy ketchup is not a good substitute for real tomato sauce.
Well, real, the tomato sauce from the tomato, not from ketchup. So anyway, so that's just like a side thing, but you know, just like Aaron said, like, when you focus on the world and you go, well, there are a million options, there are a million ways this can go, there are millions outcomes, you know, there is not just one. So this is why, like, with the Uranus in Gemini, and this is also something that I realized for myself, not saying that's true, it's a Gemini, I'm, you know, giving you information, you can choose what to do with it for yourself, but I feel that by the time Uranus is done with Gemini by 2032, 33, this program will be broken. You know, this program in our head that we are all living by, and we've been all indoctrinated since childhood, you know, like, okay, it's got a different nuance for different culture, and depending on your religion or non-religion, doesn't matter. But in essence, it's all the same bullshit, you know, it's all the same thing, you know, that makes you feel disempowered, looking out to the external authority, looking out to someone else to determine your value. It's the same thing. So this program will be completely broken by the time Uranus is done with Gemini. This will not exist, it will be gone. But imagine if you remove something, there is a hole, you know, like imagine, like, you know, a teeth, you know, they take your teeth out, you have a hole, you know, so now what's going to happen? You need to take care of it, or, you know, put something else in it, you know, crown or something, I don't know, like fake tooth, because otherwise there could be an infection, you know, something else can settle in there, so you need to take care of it. So like the Uranus is going to fracture the way we think, fracture the program, the patterns are fracturing, whether you're aware of it, whether you're paying attention, whether you want it, don't want it, it doesn't matter, that's irrelevant, you know, trying to Aquarius, but it's happening. So by the time Uranus is done with Gemini, this way of thinking, it will be gone. But now what are you replacing it with? This is the choice, you know, do you want somebody, you know, out there to give you a new thing, you know, replace it with something else, alteration of the old thing, just like people now, you know, put in AI on pedestal like a god, you know, like before it was Bible or Jesus or something, now it's AI, now it's my app, you know, my app that tells me about my dreams, or tells me about my astrology, or tells me about what should I eat or whatever. Nobody knows you better than yourself. Yes, like AI has shitloads of information downloaded from all of us, you know, and it gives you an objective perspective, which you can, you know, choose.
But how objective is it when we're brainwashed? You know, so why settle on the logic which creates the conviction of a broken system to try and help you? It's madness. It's tragic comedy.
But just to finish the thought, you know, like, don't allow, you know, just because the thing is dressed in new clothes, now it's not a Bible, now it's a modern thing, okay? You know, let's forget about Bible and Quran and all these things, you know. This is a new thing, this is AI, you know, it's new thing, it's Aquarian, right? It's technology, you know, so But it's the same energy. You still externalizing your values. That's what I mean. You externalizing your authority to something outside of you. You know, to something. Oh, let me fill all my data in there to get information to know like what's going on in my life, right? So that's what I mean. For as long as you rely on anything external, including your husband, you are not in your power because you need someone else out there to tell you how to live your life. So this is the choice. You know, the old program will be broken. It will be broken, it will be gone. You know, but now what are we replacing it with? The same thing looking different, the modern version of the same thing. You know, listening to people like glorifying all these apps and all these, you know, like different versions of ChatGPT, and this is their new God savior, you know, this is their connection to the universe, whatever. It's like it giving me chills because it's the same thing as people used to talk about Bible. It's the same thing. It's that God that is external of you. So that's what I mean. So choose for yourself whatever makes you feel empowered. But if it's a third party, you will never feel empowered because your relationship between you and that something, you know, God, you know, your soul, your whatever you call it, doesn't matter. It doesn't need a third party. The third party is going to dilute it and put their own spin on it. So once the program is broken and gone, it will be replaced by something. And now we are in a time when we are starting to decide what the something is. So just be aware, you know, choose wisely for yourself. Yeah. Don't allow someone else to choose for you.
You said so many good things. I think
I just wanted to
we should end on that, yeah. But basically, we're commoditizing each other. We are feasting upon each other. We are predators, and there's no more prey in the woods. We hunted it all down. Now we're hunting one another. And we're doing it for consciousness. We're trying to take each other's sovereign consciousness. And this is the cataclysm of consciousness. This is where we fall into the feudal realization of spirit. It's not brothers and sisters of blood or patriotism or culture, it is of spirit. Who is in resonance with that creative flow? You can be completely different on every other spectrum, but if you are the same in spirit, you'll get along fine. You know, so the Piscean models of communal relation was hierarchical models because delusion illusion is part of the game there. Now we're breaking free, we're stepping to the top, we can see everything, we can choose. This is the Gemini energy. So what is the spirit of human heritage worth to you? Or the spirit of creation, forget human, because we're more of what we don't know than what we know. It's like your body is more different, like bacteria and cells that aren't even human than it is human. So it's like, what are you? Your psyche is the same way, emotions the same way. So the point is, try and create, you know, see each other as brothers and sisters of equals, not of lesser thans because of this metric or that belief system or whatever. And you said it well.
Yeah, I just feel like you say, you know, like now we're at a stage where we're just hunting and attacking each other, and that's again by design because we're doing the dirty work for someone else. Like, yeah, let's just create an enemy, or just create, you know, these people are wrong, these people are right, but all that is the right and wrong is hiding behind this Sagittarius, you know, everybody's got their own truth, and yeah, and now what do? Like, I leave this person to like destroy my house and take my wife and child and whatever, so that's why not everything is acceptable. Obviously, you need to use boundaries, use discernment, you know, again, Virgo Capricorn. But there is much more than connects than separate us, but again, unity through diversity, as Aaron said. We are not here to be all the same. We are not here to create the same thing. We are not here to follow the same blueprint, but in essence, we all want to feel the same way. We want to feel happy, we want to feel free, we want to feel content. You ask like 100 people, what do you desire the most? Freedom, I want to be freedom, I want to be happy. You know, like, and it doesn't matter where the hell the people are from, and if they speak the same language, most people will give you the same answer. So there is much more that connects us, that separates us, but it doesn't mean we have to be the same to achieve the same goal, because that means different things for different people, you know? Just like people love cities and some people hate cities, and some people love being in in nature, and some people are bored in the nature, or they scared in the nature, or whatever. Like, you know, that is the beauty of diversity, you know, and that's Sagittarius as well. That's why Sagittarius is the sign of expansion. It expands your mind. Now Jupiter transiting through Cancer, it's expanding your psyche, you know, because our just like the world, just like Gaia, just like humanity as a collective consciousness, each and every single one of us has to upgrade. The Gaia is upgrading, the universe, the cosmos is upgrading. The old story of Piscean age is truly gone. It's truly gone. You know, with Saturn and Neptune both in Aries is gone. You know, so now it's like the consciousness wants to expand in a new way. But because we are in Aquarius age, it's giving you the free will to decide. It's not going to be the old way. You can't follow the same pattern that's gone. But you can choose whatever you want. So again, we go back to this choice. What do you want to fill that void with, the empty space with? What do you want to allow the void to become, you know? So this is why this year in particular, with the fire horse, the year number 1 or 10, 0 and the 1, however you look at it, this is a big year, you know, this is a big year. So that's why everything is happening, everything is thrown at us, everything is happening all at once. To take your energy, to take your focus, to keep recreating the same reality over and over and over again. And to change the pattern, you have to be aware of the pattern. So we have to start being conscious of our own life.
Yeah, like the tip of the spear, the sword of reason, like the Ace of Swords going through the clouds, that's Aquarius. That's Pisces to Aquarius right there, if you look at it symbolically. So, you know, embrace the spirit of yourself. Embrace change, embrace creativity, the unknown. Now, honor what that is. You can honor the things of the past, but don't let them bind you. Don't let them limit you, you know. So,
we could go on forever, even though there's nothing more to say, because everything we've said, it's kind of irrelevant anyway, you know, it's already a history. But just to let everybody know, unless you already heard it elsewhere, we just wanted to share with people that we are now also offering donation-based readings for those who are in a challenging situation in one way or another and just cannot justify treating themselves to a reading at the energy exchange price that we advertise in our readings for. So we are also now offering donation-based reading where you pretty much pay whatever you can afford. So if you would like to connect, if you would like to be supported on your journey, not by telling you what to do, but just possibly helping you to understand where you're at and, you know, what's going on astrologically for you, then do reach out to us. Those donation-based reading cannot be booked from my website. You have to email us directly, either on ariespointproject@gmail.com or moonlightsoul369@gmail.com, and then we can discuss the details further there. So with all of that said, thank you. If you're still watching, thank you for your support. Thank you for your energy, for your time, and live the best life you can.
Yeah, very well said. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care.
Bye.